is Shannon Sims, and today I am going to do a yin practice for energy. Yin is very good for helping balance out your chi. So your chi energy is a term from Chinese medicine that if you can think of your chi energy like a highway, and if everything is moving really well, traffic is moving well, it gets to where it needs to go. There's no congestion, there's no stagnation. When things start to slow down, things start to get congested, that's when we can get very irritable, we can get very frustrated. We also end up feeling a lot of pain in our body. When you have chi deficiencies in your body, that's where you have chronic illness, that's where you have chronic pain, that's where we have disrupted digestion and all sorts of things. So the body's organ system really depends on this natural flow in the body. So today's class is really going to be designed in creating more chi energy, thereby creating better flow, no traffic jams. So we're gonna start off in a seated pose, and I just want you to close your eyes for a moment and just kind of do maybe a body scan of how your body feels today. Now that body scan can be kind of figuring out where you feel good things in the body, and it can also kind of recognize where you maybe feel bad things in the body, where there's more stagnation. That might be in the joints, that might be in the shoulders, might be a number of different areas in the body. And so just kind of closing your eyes and doing this scan all throughout the body. And riding or kind of feeling the breath. So as the breath rides up, maybe noticing where it maybe is skipping over areas in your body. And as you feel this exhale, are there any areas that it doesn't feel like it's going all the way down in this nice fluid movement? And just doing a few of those, feeling the fluid movement of your breath. And again, notice if maybe there's any areas in the body it doesn't seem to move as smoothly. So we're going to actually start a process called tapping. And I just want you to tap a couple of different places. You can extend the legs, and we're going to get a little bit of energy moving and flowing in the body. So you can tap the head and tap to each side of the head. So you're tapping to the left and the right. And let's start at the forehead and kind of go along the back of the head as though your head is kind of an egg, and you're going right along the part of where you might crack it open. And doing that a few times, going down maybe to the back of the neck, and then going down the back of the neck, right around to the shoulders, and just tapping the tops of the shoulders. And then coming to the fronts and tapping underneath the collarbone. So this is called your K27. So this is the kidney meridian, and tapping with a little bit of vigor. So kind of getting really underneath those bony spots. And then tapping right at the thymus. And then I'm going to tap under the ribs, and I'm going to come to the sides of the ribs and a little bit, about 3 inches underneath the armpits. And I want you to tap in. This is called the spleen meridian. And just kind of tapping back and forth. And again, doing this a little vigorously. We're going to go up to the stomach. So I want you to tap right along to the cheeks, which is kind of a weird place to have your stomach meridian, but this is a really good place to tap in and get some movement going. And then come down again, right back into the ribs. And I want you to separate all your fingers, kind of tap into the rib cage, and then tap a little under the ribs. Maybe even pulling the belly in, and see about tapping the sides of that. And then going down the hips. We're going to tap to the sides of the legs. Your arms might be getting tired. And then I want you to take your hands around one leg, tap into each side. So you're going to tap in to the inside and the outside of the leg, and getting the knee, and tapping all the way down to the calf, tapping to the ankle, and then do the same on the other side. So tapping into both sides of the leg, tapping into the knee, getting down into the calf, right along the ankle, and then coming back up. And I'm gonna take my fingers and I'm gonna just move my energy down a little bit. And move it down to the feet, and then we're gonna pull it back up. And then draw your fingers to your toes. And take a moment, grab onto your big toe, and just massage out the big toe. Get to the side of the big toe, and then grab the second toe, massage that. And grab the third toe, massage those. And if you need to bend your knees to do it, you can bend your knees. Get that fourth toe, grab onto the pinkies, and then go back to the big toe, massaging that. Run your fingers all the way up, right from the belly button. We're going to take it all the way up to the top of the head. And massage out the forehead. And going around the sides of the temples, underneath the eyes, getting under the cheeks. We're going to come down along the face, down the neck. Coming in, and you can take either hand, and I want you to massage right into this section where the shoulders and the arms meet. Like if your shoulders and your torso were sewn together, your arms or your torso were sewn together, getting right into there. And then just shaking everything out for a moment. All right, so now coming back into a seated pose. Hands can be up or down. Just again, checking in how your body feels now. And we're waking up a lot of steps, so sometimes it's not unusual to kind of feel a little weird, a little unusual. And breathing in through your nose. Let's breathe out through the mouth. Doing two more like that, so inhale. And then exhale through the mouth. Oh. Inhale. And exhale through the mouth. Keep my eyes open, make sure I don't have a dog in my mouth. And then take your hands to your heart, thumbs pressed to your chest. Maybe say a few words of gratitude and thanks for your day. Maybe possibly setting an intent for your practice today, what you want to gain from this yin practice. And so I don't often start kind of waking up the chi, but we want to kind of move things. And it's going to move a little bit better if we kind of wake it up. It's kind of like when someone snaps their fingers in front of your face and says, come on, I need your attention. So we've kind of gained the body's attention. Now I'm going to ask you to do the opposite. And I want you to relax as much as you can. So we're going to start off into our butterfly pose. And if, for a lot of you, I would recommend propping up on a blanket. These poses are pretty important to be as comfortable as you can. So I have my bolster. And if you have a bolster, maybe grabbing something like this. If you don't have a bolster, You can grab onto several pillows or prop up some blankets and use that as well. As I come forward, I want to round my back. So if this is too much, I can take the hands to the head. I can even use my blocks on my bolster if I need to. And kind of prop up like this. But I want you to round your back. You're going to open the thighs. So we're going to work into the kidney, the liver, and the spleen meridians when we do this. And this is going to really create a good flow. Now, a lot of our most important acupuncture points are at our joints. And when our joints become stagnant, that's kind of like the traffic jam. So I can end up with a lot of pain in my joints because I have this backup of stagnation there. And that's why a lot of times we get joint pain along the ankles, the knees, the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, wrists. Areas that we have these hinge joints are, really crucial acupuncture or flow chi energy points. And so allowing yourself to relax as much as you can. We're going to stay here for 3 minutes. If you need a block underneath your hips, and I've got my timer, so I'm going to make sure we stay on track. But if you need blocks under your hips, if you're starting to have knee pain, things like that, you can use the blocks. If you don't, I want you to extend yourself forward and make sure your heels are away from you. So unlike a traditional Baddha Konasana, where my heels might be really close into the groin, I want to allow for a lot of room. So I have about this much room in between where my heels and my groin are. So the more room I have, the more it's going to start to open the hips. I'm getting the stretch in the ankles. I'm getting that work in the knees. So I'm creating this opening of chi. And allow the head to hang down heavy. And find a place that is not distracting for the body. So a place of tension, but not pain. And the chin might be in towards the chest. The crown of the head might reach forward. But again, we're trying to round more of the back. So, and we forget that our neck is actually part of our back. It's the cervical spine. There's 7 vertebrae in the cervical spine, and they go all the way right up to the very base of the skull. And that axis and axial point of the skull can get really tense, really tight. And we can get a lot of tension headaches because, again, there's not this flow that's allowed to kind of pull all the way through. And so with every exhale, see if you can sink down just a little bit more, but I'm not adjusting my pose. I'm allowing my body to get naturally heavy, but I'm not forcing or trying to push into a stretch. And this is where Yin is a little different. In a yang practice like Ashtanga or even Hatha, Hot Yoga, those are all yang practices. And that's where I'm pushing to gain a little bit more flexibility. I might, hold those poses for 30 seconds, a lot of times 5 to 7 breaths. These poses we're holding 3 to 5 minutes. So we want to be at a place of non-resistance where we're allowing the body to passively move into the stretch. And sometimes I think of it as the muscles are very active, and the muscles are kind of like a 5-year-old child. They want to keep moving, they want to keep working, and they don't really know how to relax. So they always kind of push everything a little bit more until they're asleep. And when they're asleep, they totally let go. And so think of this as your practice where you totally let go. You allow yourself to kind of hang
heavy. Kind of like that 5-year-old child that falls asleep, and when you pick them up, they're dead weight. And just allowing your body to naturally find its deepest stretch, its new shape. And so we're staying here for about 30 more seconds. And this would be what's called the second edge of the pose. So the second edge might be something that I lean into a little bit more. It might cause a little bit more strain on the body, but it does not cause pain. It causes tension and awareness, but keeping this intelligence of the body, this understanding that I'm never putting myself at risk. And that's really important, is that I let go, I allow for what the body has today. And I'm not trying to be or push into something that's not ready for today. So on your inhale, very slowly start to come out of your pose and just waking up the body very gently. Maybe allowing the head to move a little bit. Going the other direction. And then using the hands to help the knees in, walk the feet out. And I'm going to walk the feet to the edges of the mat. And take my hands back so the palms face out. Micro bend the elbows and just allow your hips to move side to side. Awesome. Take the legs forward. Let's shake the legs out. All right, our next pose is called the saddle pose. Saddle pose can be a really challenge for a lot of people. You're going to be on your knees. Now, if you're not able to do the saddle pose, if you have knee issues, your saddle might be sitting up on a block. It might be sitting up on the bolster. So you might prop the blocks underneath you like this, but I want you to kind of push the legs back. So we want to work into the ankles. We want to get into the ankles, so we're deepening this part of the stretch. And again, we're trying to release some of the stagnation that's around the ankles as well. So as I lean back, this might be as far as I can go. Now, if you have a deeper saddle, you might not need those blocks at all. And when you're here, you're going to separate the feet just a little bit. And if you need a pillow or a blanket underneath your hips, you can. I'm going to take a bolster back behind me. Now, when I do this, I'm going to lean back, and this might be as far as I'm going to come. If this is as far as you're coming today, that's okay. I'm going to try to do a throat opener. So I'm going to have my blanket propped back here in case I need it, so I can grab onto it. Now, I'm going to lean back a little bit, and I'm going to have this back opener. And the head is going to come down as well. Now, you can extend the arms back. Try not to straighten out the arms, but allow the body to really open and relax. If you need a little support, you can take that blanket back behind you any way that you need it. If you need it behind the back of the head. Now, it is more comfortable for me without the blanket, other than where my hairpiece is. So I'm going to extend the arms back and just kind of lean back a little bit. Notice how this feels. This is a little bit more of a back opener rather than being too much in the thighs. Now, if I want a little bit more, I can sit on my heels. Now, as I sit on my heels, I'm going to feel a deepening in the hips, and I'm also going to use the bottom to kind of push the heels down a little bit more. Now, we're going to stay here for about 3 minutes. And think about breathing into the belly. So you're expanding the depth of the stomach. I'm also creating a little bit more space in the rib cage as I do this. Your breath in a lot of these poses is going to actually kind of nourish and stimulate your organ systems. Now, if anything is uncomfortable, adjust it. If it's not, try to walk your attention through your body and see, is there any muscle that I'm holding on to, I'm tightening? Is any muscle active? Basically, if you had a room full of 5-year-olds that were supposed to be asleep, are there any that are still awake? And so this is where I kind of go through and do that body scan. Are my legs relaxed? Are my shoulders relaxed? Is my back relaxed? Are my glutes relaxed? Both sides. Am I relaxing the mouth? We carry a lot of tension in our jaw. And so if you can think about relaxing the mouth, relaxing the teeth, allowing the jaw to kind of go anywhere at once in this point. And you might feel that the jaw is kind of pulling back towards where the eyes are going. We're offering a little bit of an inversion. So if you're feeling lightheaded, weak, or dizzy, bringing the head a little higher than the heart will always take that away. So maybe propping the head up so it's either level with the heart or even a little higher than the heart. If you're feeling any tension in the arms, noticing are my elbows bent enough, and if they are, maybe taking the arms a little bit down by your side or maybe even out to the side. If you have one palm in the other, so you can cross the other palm on top. And maybe if you have one side of your head turned, just turn your head to the other side, allowing for the neck to stretch in both ways. If your head is able to come down flat behind you, just keeping the jaw and the eyes facing up towards the ceiling. And again, modifying this pose for where you need to be. So everybody's poses are going to look different. And every time you come into this pose, it's going to be slightly different. Every day I make little changes in my body. And so just stay here for about 30 more seconds. Breathing deeply into the rib cage. Trying to allow the whole body to relax a little bit more. Notice if you're feeling tension or tightness in the knees. And if you are, sweep the heels further out towards the side, bottom comes down towards the ground. Now when you're ready to come out of it, bring your arms down. Take your hands towards your thighs and push your elbows into the bolster. Start to bring the elbows behind you. Rebound here for a moment. When you're ready, coming all the way up, straightening out. So again, we gave ourselves that back bend. Back bends are energizing. They can be a little challenging on the body. So I want you to extend the legs forward and just straightening out the legs. You can keep those blocks and everything near you. Again, if you need to prop up on a pillow or a blanket, you can. I'm going to shake the legs out just a little bit. So you get the knees kind of working. And maybe just even giving the knees some love. So kind of massaging into the knees. If you have any discomfort on the backs of the knees, just making sure to touch both sides of the knees. And then doing the same on the other. If you're able to grab onto your ankles, massaging into the ankles as well. And getting into the backs of the ankles.
come into a forward fold. If you're somebody that has really tight hamstrings, really invite you to come up on the blanket, so propping yourself up. I don't, and so I'm not going to use the blanket. I might use the blanket if I start to have pain in the backs of the knees. Now, I'm going to fold forward, and I want to round the back when I do this. And this is very different than your yang practice. Your yang practice, or your, more flowing practice, will a lot of times tell you to stretch your heart forward, straighten your back, but we're trying to stretch the fascia. And we're trying to create a bit more flow by allowing for the spine to fully round. And so if you can, take the head down. Now, if you notice that the head kind of stops, or you might be here, use a block or a bolster and prop yourself up. A really comfortable way to come into this pose is to allow yourself to kind of fold forward. Now, because I am somebody that is a little bit more flexible here, this is limiting for where I am, and I'm not going to feel as much. You want to feel for where you are. And everyone's going to be a little different. So I'm going to come down a little bit more, but I do like to prop my head. So I'm going to allow the head to kind of prop and allow the body to relax. So we're going to stay here for about 3 to 4 minutes. And just noticing that now the back is rebounding a little from where it was. And I'm not trying to push my legs into the mat. I'm allowing the upper body to naturally weigh into the lower body. And as I do that, it's creating this pull. You might start to feel this more in the feet. If you're not feeling enough of a stretch along the back, you can keep taking, and your body changes its shape as you're in this for a little bit. So as you notice that you've been in this for a while, and let's say you're not feeling what you felt when you first come in, then that's where you can make little adjustments. Sometimes those adjustments mean I'm going to come deeper into a pose, and sometimes the adjustments mean I'm going to back off from the pose. And allow the feet to do whatever they feel they need to do without feeling you need to control the pose. And this is sometimes where I like to focus a little bit on my back and just start to feel where I'm feeling this. Am I feeling this more along the mid-back, the neck? Now I know I feel it more on my neck when I'm not able to round my neck. And you might even feel this more in this mid-back, or maybe the sensation at the back of your hamstrings or even your groin are pulling more, kind of drawing your attention in that area. And the nice thing about your yin practice, there isn't a wrong. Everything that we're doing is where your body is. And so you're kind of learning where your body is today, where you feel the most sensation. And this is the practice that always gives me the greatest insight into why maybe my yang practice is going in a certain direction. If I feel more limitations on one side of my body in my yin practice, I start to pay attention more in my more active practices and see, is that opening a little bit more? A really good way to focus on your body and draw more energy or flow
into that space is thinking about breathing into an area that might feel a little tighter. So if you're feeling a lot of tension in your lower back, maybe breathing, and kind of picturing that your body has little slits or gills or anything that can draw that oxygen right to the place that you're thinking about, that you're focusing on. And if you're able to come just a little bit further, this is going to be that last edge of the pose. That might be you're able to extend the arms a little further. You're able to get the body down a little bit more. Wherever you are, kind of relax with abandon. Let go. Walking your attention through and noticing if you're holding tension or holding back any particular place in your body. In my Yin practice, I feel the stretch in so many unique areas. Just kind of helping you figure out the intricacy of the body, that the big toe is connected to the ear, and you can feel all these little spots in between sometimes. So slowly starting to round up, and we want to come out of this really slow to avoid injury, but also to allow for a little bit more feeling and connection. And again, because we've been rotating or rounding the neck a little bit, I want you to just take a few rolls in the neck, and then going the other direction, same thing. And then coming back from the stretch, leaning back into it a little bit. I'm going to take and walk the feet out, and I'm going to move the feet a little side to side. And just moving the legs a little side to side. Now I'm going to turn over and I'm going to be on my belly. We're going to come into Sphinx pose. Now we're going to be in this one for about 3 minutes. You can use the blocks or you can choose not to use the blocks. I'm going to not use the blocks today on this one. I'll show you a couple of ways to come into a little deeper pose if needed. But I want you to start with the elbows right in line with the shoulders. And just make sure you don't feel this tension in the shoulders. Now, if you're already feeling pressure in the low back, you're going to walk the elbows out to the side and maybe lower the ribs down a little bit more. If not, bring the elbows in. And on this first round, think about pulling your belly button up, and then as though you had a string on your belly button and someone's pulling it a little forward. Pull the belly button forward, and then see if you can push the belly button down. Draw the shoulder blades back, and just feel where you feel this. Kind of connecting to the lower back. Now as you're here, try to relax the bottom, relax the legs, and then lastly, see, can I relax the back? We keep a lot of tension in our lower back. The low back has a lot to do with me feeling unstable, and the low back also has to do a lot with financial burdens. And I know some of us right now, due to the coronavirus, are outside of our jobs. We're probably feeling a lot of strain in our lower back. So I have a lot of low back releasing exercises in this particular Yin class because it does really affect the lower back. Now, if you're not feeling much from here, I want you to turn the toes so the big toes turn towards each other. And this is called sickling the foot. So kind of making what looks a little bit like a hockey stick. So the inner arches are kind of facing in towards each other. And start to feel which side of your back you feel this the most. And if you're not sure, see if you can close your eyes.
and kind of pinpoint maybe where you're feeling this.
Now, if you're feeling tension in the neck, I like to walk my elbows forward a little bit and make a fist and just kind of prop your head up. You can also take the hands towards the side and rest that on the chin. And just notice where in the lower back, and you might not have a particular side you feel it in, but if you do, see if you can follow where maybe it goes. Now, if you're not feeling a lot, you can take those feet up, and that might take it up a notch for you. And as you're here, again, this is a harder pose to try to relax, but see, can I relax the feet? Can I relax the glutes? Can I relax the shoulders? Can I relax the back? Notice if the pose has changed. If you need to come down a little bit, you can come down. If you're still not feeling much, you're going to take your hands down. You're going to bring your elbows in just a little, but you're going to turn your palms so your palms face out. So you're kind of opening the space. Now I'm going to straighten out the arms and push the shoulders back. You can always walk the hands in a little bit more if you need a little bit more. But remember, this is a place where I want to feel tension, but I don't want to feel pain. So if I'm starting to feel pain, might start with bringing the legs down, might bring those arms down. And pain sometimes goes to the hamstring. So if I don't have good flow, then I might have a tight hamstring from this. One part of my body, when it doesn't flow well, is going to create a situation in another part. And again, I always like to think of it like a traffic jam, because if one person, and this has always kind of amazed me, if one person stops and looks at an accident, and then it slows everybody down just a little, but then it slows everybody down just enough to where eventually we almost have another traffic issue. Because everybody is slowing down, and the body is very similar. When one thing gets a little off balance, it starts to progressively slow things up. And most of our meridians start at the base of our feet and they go towards the top of the head. So there's a long way for things to get a little congested and stuck. And so your yin practice is about creating better chi energy in the body. Now, when you're ready, you're going to bring the elbows down. And then just bring the elbows out to the side and allow the legs to relax. And I want you to rebound. Turn your head to any direction that feels good. And just breathe into your belly, creating some space in the back. And then maybe taking one leg out to the side. This will allow the lower back to rebound, and just staying here for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, bringing that knee back in, pressing yourself up into tabletop. And we're going to take the hands underneath the wrists, wrists under shoulders, and just round yourself up a little bit. And from the belly button, push your belly button and kind of push it into your lower back, and push your lower back a little bit. Now, as you're still in this cat pose, see if you can kind of shift your shoulders so your shoulders come over the wrists, and then squeeze the hips towards the arms. On your inhale, just coming back into a gentle neutral pose, not bowing the back. So I'm not coming into cow. I'm going to come back into that cat again, pushing the hips towards the arms and kind of squeezing the arms in towards the hips while lifting and lengthening the arms as much as you can. And then when you're ready, drawing yourself back. So we're going to come into our dragon pose. We're going to come into two different dragons. I'm going to use my blanket. Now, if you have bad knees, I want you to do basically a different pose. You're going to lie on your back and you're going to grab onto your leg. And you can stay in this pose and just kind of think about pushing the hip down and allowing yourself to relax. If you're eventually able to come and grab onto the leg, you can. You're going to stay here for the whole 4 minutes. So we're going to come into two variations if you're up. This is half happy baby. So I might be grabbing here. I can relax the heel. I might be grabbing here, but I'm in a variation of what looks a lot like our dragon pose. Now, if you don't have knee issues, you can be up. And I would recommend using your blocks. So you're going to grab your blocks. And if you need a bolster, you can use your bolster as well. And I'll show you how we can use that bolster if we need it. So I'm going to take my right leg forward and I'm going to leave my left knee down. Now my right knee and ankle are going to line on this one. And this one is a twist. So we're starting off our dragon in a twist. And I'm going to take my hand to the block and I'm going to twist. Now, if you're able to take the elbow down, you can twist there and you're just going to maybe hug into the right leg. You also have the option of using your bolster and you can rest. And if you take that bolster enough, if you're feeling a lot of tension in this left hip, you can take that bolster underneath the hip. Now, if you don't need this, if you don't need the blocks, and you don't have to use the blocks, I want you to try to keep the right foot snuggled in. So we're keeping it a little bit more narrow. So I'm going to twist, and this is called twisted dragon. Now, I'm not reaching the arm up. You can take your arm over if you want, but I'm trying to allow myself to relax a little bit. Now, I like to grab onto the leg. So this is the variation that feels a little bit better in me. And I'm just going to allow my left hip to twist any way it wants. If the back foot turns with it, that's okay. But stay here for a few minutes. Now, if you need a prop for the head, if the head is creating tension, you can always use your hand to the head. If you would like a little bit more on the neck, you can let the head hang down. But if there's anything in your body that is creating pain, we want to stay away from pain. Pain means I'm not honoring where the body is, and I'm not necessarily listening to the intelligence of the body, kind of telling me what I need to do. So we're here for about 1 more minute in this twisted variation. Stacking that right shoulder kind of on top of the left. Making sure the left elbow is underneath the shoulder. So I'm not causing or creating tension or pain. If you have shoulder issues going on and you need both hands down, that's okay. And again, remember, you always have the option of being on your back in that happy baby, that half happy baby. And just letting that left hip get really heavy. And now from here, I'm just going to bring the arms right underneath. And this is actually called gecko. I know in a lot of practices it's called lizard pose. You can also use the blocks if you need to. So if you need to build yourself up a little bit more, you have the blocks to be able to use. I'm allowing the knee to come out a little bit, but I'm trying to keep everything a little bit tighter. So I'm keeping my body in a little closer towards the knee, even if the knee is kind of pulling away from me. And I'm allowing the hips to really open and stretch. Now, if this feels okay, allowing yourself to come down more, feel that this is all right to round the back. So I don't have to feel as though I can't stay here, that I have to push the chest forward. Allow the back to round as much as it needs. Deepening the breath in any of these poses that are particularly more challenging for the body or the hips, but allowing us to create this more open space in the body. Now that last 30 seconds is the last edge of the pose. So if you know it's something that you can bring the arms down or you can remove a block, then allowing yourself to do that. Letting the chin to slightly come in towards the chest. The crown of the head is getting heavy. And just notice on the right leg, what parts of the body are down, which parts are kind of lifting. So is the knee pulling more towards the right? Is the big toe lifted? Again, just doing those body scans and also scanning on which muscles are automatically tightening. When you watch them, can they relax a little? And when they relax, what happens to the body? Does the stretch intensify? You know, are you noticing the changes or how this side feels? And then when you come out, just bring the hands underneath. Start to shift your weight back. So I'm shifting back into the left hip. I'm going to straighten out the right leg for a moment and just bowing into it. If you're on the ground, you can grab onto both knees and just start rolling out the knees a little bit. If you're on your knees, and just follow my cue, you're going to bring that right knee, and we're going to actually take the right knee back behind us. And I'm going to cross the knees, and I'm going to see if I can kind of push back into a child's pose, rebounding the hips a little bit. Now from here, I'm going to see if I can start to shift forward, and I'm going to do the other side. So my knee is already on the blanket, and this time I'm going to take that left leg forward, and I'm going to find the lizard on this side. Now I want to make sure the left knee and ankle align, and I'm going to find the hip forward. And at first I like to kind of prop myself up a little bit higher, because I'm going to find that twist, and I'm going to see how it feels on the hip before I drop down to the forearms. So you might just notice, holding onto the leg, how does that feel? If it feels okay, take it down to the elbow and twist yourself around, keeping the torso in as close as you can. Maybe just reaching that arm up for a moment, getting a little bit of height in the rib cage. If you bound on the other side, again, soft bind, you might bind on this side. If you did like I did and you just wanted to hold on to the knee, that's a good place to be. If you notice that you could do more and it feels okay on this side, then do more and twist a little bit more. You're going to let the hip on the right side kind of pull down, and see if you can close your eyes and just notice how this actually pulls too on the foot. So sometimes we have a connection of our hip to our arch. So you might feel tension even around the toes, the arch of the foot. And when I have hip issues, a lot of times it, again, leads all the way down to the feet. Now on this particular one, I feel this in my third toe. So all of your toes have different points of energy and lines that go up the body. And just allowing yourself to relax here a little bit, pushing your weight into that left side of your hip. And just notice as things change. If you want, you can kind of hang the head to the side. Notice how that feels on the neck. If you need to prop the head, using the hand, using the elbow. Staying here, relaxing the jaw. Again, noticing how much tension I keep in my mouth. Our jaw holds a lot of stress, a lot of tension. And so even in some of your yin poses, allowing yourself to just kind of relax and allow the jaw to hang, sometimes not attractively, but comfortably, you know, a little weightless. You know, if we were without gravity, just, you know, what would it do? If we have too much gravity, where would it go? And so seeing this difference in the body, what would get lighter? What would get heavier? Where do I keep my stress and my tension? And so from here, we're gonna come into that gecko pose. I'm gonna ask you to come up a little bit more and try to keep the knee in line and square the chest so the chest is over. Now, from here, this is about as formal as I have to get. Again, this is yin, so we don't want to get too formal with the pose. Allow the toes to kind of do what they want. And allow yourself to come down at a pace that feels good in your body, not stressful. So one of the things I love about the yin practice is that it is the opposite of a stress practice. It is supposed to rebalance out the sympathetic nervous system. So we are able to balance out sometimes those cortisol releases. And right now we are all releasing a lot of cortisol. We have a lot of autonomic sympathetic nervous system turn-ons. It's kind of like a light that's turning on by itself and you're not aware of it. And so we have these little turn-ons with all the information that we just don't know. And your yin practice, the more you relax into it, kind of helps shut that down. It gets things back where they're supposed to be so your body isn't releasing or dumping these large amounts of stress into your system, which unfortunately causes weight gain, and not the fun kind, not the kind where you eat too much and you have too much fun, that kind where you don't have any control over it, it just happens. And so your yin practice is rebalancing that, but not if I come into poses that create more stress in my body. And so stay here for just a few more breaths. Maybe noticing where you feel this stretch the most. And then when you're ready, taking your hands down, start to slowly come up, and I want you to push your weight back into your right hip. Allow the left leg to straighten a little bit. It doesn't have to straighten all the way. Just allow it to rebound a little. If you're on the ground and you've taken that happy baby option, just want you to gently grab onto both knees, maybe roll the knees out a little bit. If you're with me, you're going to take the hands into or frame the inside of the left leg and just slide the left leg around. Find your tabletop for a moment and then just place your left knee behind your right. think about sinking the hips back a little bit. And just go back as far as is comfortable, finding your child's pose. Maybe offering little movements in the hips. And when you're ready, we're gonna come up and we're gonna come onto our bottom. We're gonna come into something called double pigeon. So double pigeon, you can come into a couple of different options on your double pigeon. Now I'm gonna use, after I fold my blanket a little bit better, I'm gonna use my blanket and I'm gonna take that blanket underneath my tailbone just to give myself a little bit of a lift. If you have other reasons to use your blanket, you can use your blanket for your legs, your ankles. So I'm gonna start with my right leg over my left. I'm gonna cross at the ankles and I'm gonna lean back. Now this would be double pigeon track 1. If you need your bolster or your blanket, you can grab onto those as well. I'm not gonna use my bolster, but I can use my blocks. So as you extend forward, you might feel tension in the knees. If you need to, you can take those blocks under your thighs, extend yourself forward, round the back when you know you can't go any further. This would be what's called track 1. So track 1 would be, the start or kind of a beginner pose right at the ankles. And it doesn't mean you're a beginner. It means this is where your hips are. And everybody, to the most advanced of students, have different points of flexibility. So it has nothing to do with the strength of your practice. It has to do with how you're born. Sometimes where my flexibility lies. So this is a great pose. I take this one very often. Track 2, you would maybe take your ankle on your shin and you're gonna stack, and I have this kind of a triangle shape in the legs, and as I extend forward, I'd extend forward and you can kind of see one leg is stacked over the other, kind of like fire logs, okay? Now the next one might be, this is track 3, where my right ankle is on top of my left knee. Now you might have a gap, and if you have a gap, you can take the block underneath. Now, if you're a really flexible student and your knee is all the way down here, you might take the block underneath your ankle, and that's going to create a further distance for you to work. So it depends how open your hips are. This would be basically one of the hardest poses. So if you're super flexible and you're able to come all the way forward with the legs completely stacked, then you're going to want to take that block underneath the left knee. I need a block to start underneath my right knee. And I'm going to fold forward. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes. So we're not in this one too long. And just allow the head to come down. If you want to use that second block, you can use that for the elbows of the forearms. You can prop your head up. Everybody's flexibility here is different. Once I'm in this for a little bit, I find I can come down a little bit more. So sometimes I don't need that block for too long. And so you can kind of see if things have changed on you. Again, try to relax the hips. And allow your body to come to its level. If you are counting the seconds that we're going to be out of this pose, then you're in the wrong pose. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I can totally do this for 2 minutes. Has it been 2 minutes yet? You're in the wrong pose. So come into a pose that you could stay in for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes without tension or strain. And if you need to build up, build up. Your body will stretch deeper when it's not in tension. So if you're not in a place of pain, extreme discomfort, your body will actually stretch more because it can relax more. It's kind of like when have to take a test, you know, and I know, okay, I have to know all this stuff for a test, and I panic and I can't think of anything. And then the minute the test is over, I think of everything. I'm like, why was that so hard? And we do that because we hold back. We can't totally let go. And our yin practice is very similar to that. If you just let go, your body stretches deeper. But if I'm in a place where I shouldn't be, then it's gonna stay tight. It's gonna stay tense. And so let's stay here for 30 more seconds. Now, if any of these poses are very beneficial to you, feel free to stop the video at any time and hold a pose for longer. You know, we're doing a lot of poses, but a lot of these poses can be done for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, comfortably. And the longer you're in a pose, the more beneficial it is. So we're trying to energize so many parts of the body right now, but if you can drag this out to a 2-hour class, then I highly recommend doing that. You know, taking this sequence and doing them for 5 to 7 minutes would be hugely beneficial for you. So when you're ready, we're gonna come out. Now, the thing I love about this pose is that we get both hips at the same time. We get one a little bit more than the other. So I'm gonna lean back away from the stretch and I'm gonna take the legs out and just stretch them out for a moment. Let the legs straighten, move the hips a little side to side. You can take the hands back behind you, move the legs a little back and forth. And take the legs in front of you, just shake them out for a moment. If you wanna massage out the hips a little bit, just like we did with our knees, get a little fire, get a little heat going in the hips. You might even feel that this helps a lot when we come into the next pose. All right, so we're gonna do, this time the left leg is on top and the right leg is underneath. Again, that track 1, we're gonna be ankles over ankle. So ankle right in front of ankle, not shin in front of shin. So it's not up here. I'm crossing ankle in front of ankle so the knees are wide and the hips are getting that better stretch. I'll lean forward and then round at the back, allow yourself to come down. If that is comfortable, I want you to stay there. If you want that second variation, you're gonna take shin over shin. Again, they look like fire logs. This is often called fire log pose. You can extend yourself forward. Again, same thing, relax into it. Track 3 would be, again, that ankle over knee. Same thing, if you need that block underneath the knee, take it. If you need it underneath the ankle to make it more challenging, do that. Lean forward, find your appropriate depth. Both sides of your legs are not going to be the same. And so one leg might need a little bit more help. It depends what's going on with one hip more than the other. It's not that one side is right or one side is wrong, one side is strong. You know, we want to think of our body as equals. And I try to get my students to remind your body that both sides are equally strong, just in different ways. If we start to get into a habitual pattern of looking at one side of our body as weak, an injury, an area of stress and tension, then mentally I'm, kind of damning that side of my body. I'm telling it ahead of time, you're not as strong. You're never going to be as strong. And it often creates more problems. Our mind is very powerful and our body believes what our mind tells it. So if our mind perpetually tells our body, oh, you have an injury, oh, you are weak,
then your body takes on that role, that identity. And so we want to get out of the habit of using words like good or bad. And an injury, we can draw awareness to it and always give our body what it needs and reward it. Say, you're doing so good. You're further this time than you were last time. You're releasing beautifully. We're very often our worst enemies and our worst critics, and we need to take on a language that supports our body being really strong. So our body is strong 20, 30, 40 years past when we even thought it could be. Age defying starts in the mind, not necessarily the technology. And so allow your body to feel youthful by thinking how strong and amazing your body is. And it's very exciting when your body is responsive to the way you're thinking. And so maybe even working on breathing techniques, that you're breathing more energy, more awareness, more oxygen into a particular part of your body. And just staying here for about 30 more seconds. Coming into the second edge of the pose. Allowing the hips to relax here a little bit, to open a little bit more. Remember, creating more chi energy around those acupuncture points that get very clogged. And our hips are a really big area of stagnation, especially for women. It is where we put a lot of our fears and our anxieties, our past failures, and they kind of compound over anything that we feel we're not doing now. And so allowing yourself to lift up beyond that by just being okay with where you are now. Putting the things in our past, it doesn't mean that anything has to pile up. Piling up is, as we know from putting things off. If you put your laundry off and it piles up, or you put your dishes off, it gets overwhelming and it just gets clogged and cluttered. So kind of embracing each and every day with knowing that you did your best, and tomorrow you'll do a little better on everything, but never going back into the past because we can't change it. So getting rid of the past issues in our hips are a really great place to kind of focus in your yin practice. What can I let go of that's no longer serving me? So on your inhale, slowly start to come up. And I want you to think about some of those areas. What no longer is serving me that I can let go of. And before you come out of your pose, take your thumbs right into the sides of your hips and just push them in really hard and massage out both sides of your hips. And you can kind of push back and forth, kind of like if you were sewing, a sewing needle was going through and through. You're kind of pushing through and through. And just pushing into the sides of the hips. And again, you can massage them out, or sometimes, like I said, I like to push into each side, creating that movement, that openness, and then just leaning back, starting to release one leg and then the other. And you might notice that the legs feel a little bit more open. It also is going to open this space right along the IT, so you're going to feel a lot of tension lifting there. So massaging out the legs by just rubbing them a little back and forth. And also getting to the insides of the thighs as I do that.
You can make these kind of little figure eights on the legs. You're just doing this a few more times. All right, shaking out the legs. All right, so we're gonna come into one of my absolute favorite poses. It's called side deer. Now I'm gonna take the bolster right up against my hip. Now, if you need a blanket, you can take a blanket back here. You can also take a block for underneath your shoulder. I'm gonna bring the right knee in front, and I'm gonna bring the left leg behind me. So this leg is at 90 degrees, and this back leg is at 90 degrees. Now I wanna kind of lift my hip up. So I'm gonna take my hand, right hand to the bolster. I'm gonna lift my hip up so the hip is right up against the bolster as much as you can. Now reach the right arm over as far as you're able, and then bring your right shoulder down. Now if it doesn't touch the ground, you know, if you have a larger bolster like me and you can't get the shoulder down, this is where you can take a blanket and roll the blanket up so the shoulder has a place to rest. Now, if this is uncomfortable for the head, you can also take a block to the head. This is going to get into the side body. This is an awesome stretch. If you have scoliosis, if you have any issues where the spine is out of whack, this is an amazing pose. This is going to get into the side body, and we're going to get that really nice line of energy drawing up the left side. Now, as you're able to stay here more, you might like the head to drop down a little bit more. Again, if you need to give it a little bit of prop, you can. You also can use your hand if you need it. Sometimes it's kind of like Lego building. I'm trying to find the most comfortable position for me. I think for this one, it's going to be more head, and I'm going to let my shoulder drop down. And we're going to stay here for, like I said, about 2 to 3 minutes. Now, if this causes your arm pain, you can bring the arm forward. You can maybe just take it at a little bit of a diagonal so you're getting a little more stretch. I don't want you to create pain in the shoulder. If it does not create pain, you can tuck the hand underneath. You can draw the wrist down. You can also start to open the chest up so the gaze can come slightly up, but not taking it out of the left side. So I don't want to rotate too much on the ribs, since this right now I'm trying to open the side of my body. So sometimes just being able to focus on what is the emphasis of where I'm supposed to feel this. So right here, I want you to feel this more on the left side. You can even extend the left leg a little bit. If that does not cause discomfort, you can straighten the leg if you get more tension or pulling from that. I actually get a little bit more pulling when it's bent and down. Everybody is a little different, kind of depending on where you're tight. And closing the eyes. And just starting to walk your attention through your body, seeing where you feel this. I'm going to stay here for about 30, 45 more seconds. Like I said, this is a pose that if you have the time, I would stay in 5, 7, 10, even 15 minutes. It is such a healing pose. And I've had students that had severe scoliosis, and the shorter side of their body, we would open it a little bit longer than the longer side. So if I had a shortened, left side, This would be a great stretch to hold for 15 minutes on the left, creating more length in the left side. And then I might hold it for less on the right side if my right side was built up a little higher. And if you're not certain or you're a little, questionable about that, feel free to comment or, send me questions that you might have about the practice. But I've had students that added this to their daily routine and they were able to almost completely change their scoliosis. So there are a lot of methods out there to fix what we've damaged over a period of time. And sometimes it's as simple as holding a stretch or just a little longer. So when you're ready, you're going to bring the left arm slowly down, so you're going to notice the stretch, the shoulder. Taking the left hand down, bring yourself up and pushing yourself up a little bit. Now I'm going to reach that left arm over, maybe grab onto the knee if you can. Right arm, just give yourself a little stretch on that right side. And then when you're ready, bring the arm down. I'm going to swing the legs forward, and I can do this on the other side. Now, if you want, you can just flip over. I want you to still be able to see me, so I'm going to just flip everything, but you can dry yourself and flip your legs to the other side and literally keep all your props exactly the way you had it. So in this one, I'm going to build up on the left side. Left leg starts at 90 degrees, right leg comes behind me, and I'm going to lift up my left side a little bit. Try to reach the left arm over. Make sure your left hip is actually in contact with the bolster. Now, like you're trying to get your whole rib cage on the bolster, reach over as far as you can so your shoulder is going to come down, and then maybe having that prop for the head. This time my right arm is going to reach over, and again, if I have issues or damage to the shoulder, you can reach that arm a little bit forward, or maybe just bring it down all the way. If you can, extend the arm over the head and just feel that stretch on, this time, the right side. And notice how your breathing is. So opening the lines of energy on this side of the body. Okay, hitting into the gallbladder meridian, and this activates the liver as well. And so when our meridians, and the meridians are the flow channels, the highways of your body, and it creates this energy that moves in and out through the body, the blood, the cells, the ligaments, the tendons, and the organs. And when we start to open a lot of this, and a lot of the meridians are named like the gallbladder channel, not necessarily anything, too much to do with the gallbladder, but the gallbladder is going to be in line with the energy of that channel. So the gallbladder channel has a lot to do with the liver as well, and it connects to the liver. So right now we're nourishing the liver, and the liver being able to cleanse and maintain everything a little bit more efficiently in the body. And our liver is so important to be able to process everything. And when that gets really stagnant, that's where we start having a lot of issues with diabetes and heart disease and other problems of that nature. So having our organs have good flow is so crucial to overall health. And this is a wonderful way to keep your body flowing better and keep your organs in top working condition. And you should notice after your yin practice that you have a lot more energy throughout the day. And if you do have significant energy changes, if you notice that your mood has increased tremendously, maybe even a reduction in your pain levels, then you know that your chi is a little stagnant, that the flow of your body wasn't necessarily at its optimal level. And so these practices are a great way to open that, but also be aware of what's been going on, so I can know how to figure it out next time I feel pain or irritability. I'll be like, wow, my chi is stagnant and it's not flowing well. And to keep everything really open, we have to maintain more open flexibility in not just our muscles. Sometimes we think that everything is about flexibility of the muscles, but it's the fascia. And keeping and maintaining that openness in the fascia creates this openness in the whole body. So we're going to stay here for just a few more breaths. Kind of breathing into your side body, noticing how that feels. When you're ready, we're going to bring that right arm down and just taking it down slowly. Taking the right hand to the bolster, coming up and lengthening into the left side. Use your right hand, grab onto the knee. You're going to pull yourself over, let your head hang down heavy. When you're ready, coming back through. This time, I'm going to bring myself back, so my feet are forward, and just take a moment, maybe move your body a little side to side. So our last pose is our most important. It's our Savasana. And we're going to stay in Savasana for a couple of minutes. If you are able to come into a longer Savasana, I highly recommend it. And so maybe taking a pillow or a blanket underneath your head. If you need to make any movements before pressing into the lower back, any area that might be a little tight or tense. And see if you can extend the legs out. Now, if you've extended the legs out and this feels okay for the back, see if you can reach the arms out. Now, the arms might come to the side. If you can, maybe reaching the arms so the body looks a little bit more like a starfish. Making any little fidgets or movements that you need to make. And then allowing yourself to just rest. Feeling kind of the new shape of the body. And tapping into how things have changed a little from maybe where you started. Relaxing all the parts of your body. And just noticing how everything feels. Maybe feeling this sense of renewed freshness in the skin, the cells. After a yin practice, I always feel like my skin glows a little. And so just tapping in a little to what comes to your mind. Maybe the first thing that comes to your mind when you're thinking about the changes your body took on. Notice if there is an area in the body that feels particularly more at rest, a little heavier. And just allowing yourself to stay here for a little bit longer. And be kind to yourself in these coming weeks. Say kind things. Be understanding about the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that come into your head. And as often as you can, forgive yourself for sometimes not being at our best. When we are shifted out of our comfort zone, we have a tendency to learn a lot about ourselves, but we gain a lot of knowledge if we give a lot of forgiveness. And that forgiveness starts with you. You know, we learn every day. Every day we learn a little bit more, and every day we try a little bit harder. And if every day you just try to be a little bit better than you were the day before, you've come a really long way. So thank you so very much for your practice, for watching. Namaste.